So a little bit of scene setting. So join me in the Wayback Machine all the way back to 2021. Feels like a very long time ago, mid-pandemic. Remote work was everywhere, very different time in our history. But if you were sort of looking on LinkedIn or looking at Indeed or looking at job postings broadly, you might have noticed a funny thing happened in 2021. And that is the entire workforce of Colorado seemed to have fallen out of favor. Job postings were open to remote work, or would indicate that companies were open to remote work, with a carve out and exception of Colorado specifically. And that trend became so pronounced that there was a website called Colorado Excluded that ultimately counted 400 companies that were posting for remote work, but specifically excluding Colorado-based employees from consideration for those remote roles. So what happened to make the entire workforce of Colorado radioactive? Well, it was actually the implementation of Colorado's Equal Pay for Equal Work Act at the start of the year, which immediately became the most expansive state pay transparency law in the country. And it required employers to provide salary ranges for all job openings posted in the state. So regardless of whether a company was headquartered there, if they were posting jobs that could be filled by a worker in the state of Colorado, they were required to post salary ranges on those job postings. So rather than comply, those 400 companies decided to exclude Colorado altogether. In fact, one company posted that they were open to remote work, except cannot work in Colorado. This is a direct quote. Colorado candidates will be required to relocate. And they were willing to pay to relocate Colorado employees. So it just demonstrates the resistance to wage transparency that companies at that time would rather pay to relocate candidates out of Colorado than disclose their salary ranges. But in fairness, moving from a culture of secrecy around compensation to a culture of transparency virtually overnight is a big lift for any organization. And so to help with that lift, our discussion today will really provide some context and framework to help you advance a culture of transparency and equity within your organization. So where we are and where we're going. So currently about 20% of the US workforce is covered by some form of pay transparency law related specifically to the disclosure of salary. That number within relatively short order will increase to 25 when the rest of New York State joins New York City in imposing a disclosure mandate. And if you actually look at jobs currently posted on Indeed, an analysis showed that 45% of US job postings, regardless of location, currently do include salary ranges. Now that is a rapid change. So in February of 2023, 2020, about 3 years ago, that number was 18.4. So more than doubled over the last 3 years and approaching a majority of roles posted. And then as we look ahead, 47% of the workforce sits in a state where wage transparency is already the law, or where it's being considered in state legislatures. Probably also worth noting that there is a federal pay transparency, there has been federal pay transparency legislation introduced in Congress, although that's unlikely to progress in the near term given divided government. But nonetheless, the trend is clear that more and more states and municipalities are requiring employers to disclose wage data to prospective employees and internal employees.